Alright, so here we go. I told myself I wasn't gonna have an aquarium anymore, but I built my aquarium a few months ago and it really started to itch again. And was checking the second-hand marketplace in the Netherlands called Marktplaats and found this really cheap fish tank I couldn't resist. And initially it was sold, but somehow the sell didn't went through, so the seller contacted me and picked it up. Really nice guy. Shout out to Stefan. And yeah. The first day I wanted to do more, but then I realized washing gravel just takes forever and ever and ever. If you ever wash gravel, don't do it in buckets. Get a small baby tub, because I did 2 bucket loads and it just takes so much time. It goes so much quicker in a baby tub. So here I'm adding the first bucket of gravel to the fish tank. I like to spread it with my hands, because it's a quite large tank and I'm a gardener. I'm used to using my hands in the garden as well, spreading soil around, and it doesn't bother me that much. Maybe when it's large or smaller tanks, but like with a large tank like this, I can't be bothered. So here I'm putting down the hardscape. I used seiryu stone or landscaping stone, or how else you wanna pronounce it out, but pronounce it correctly. As I said, I'm from the Netherlands, so English is not my first language, but I'm gonna do the best I can. I had a bunch of stones with some calcium deposit, and I tried to use those stones on the back, because the more you go to the horizon, normally the lighter it gets. So the lighter the stones were, the farther I placed them towards the back. And the darker the stones were, the further I placed them towards the front. I went to about 3 or 4 different places to get my stones. So originally I wanted to get some bigger ones, but I couldn't find any anywhere. So I ended up using the large generic stone they sell everywhere. So I made some oil paintings a few years ago following a Bob Ross tutorial, and I just want to use some techniques for this aquascape as well, because I thought it was perfect the way he creates depth with like lightness and darkness and etc. And yeah, I just thought it was really neat to use some of these techniques that I learned and mastered with painting to apply them on this aquascape. So this is what I came up with after the first day of placing the hardscape down. This is the second day, or technically the third day. I've got some piece of flat slate stone here I use as substrate supports, because you can clearly tell like the tank is very sloped, and I was afraid of the gravel like collapsing at some points or falling down towards the lower bottom of the tank. So basically in between the rocks at places where I think it would sink away, I place these substrate supports. It's a technique I seen James Finley use like about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago when I started out my first aquarium. He had some really good tutorials back then, and I felt like he was one of the only few. The Green Machine, you should check him out if you haven't heard about him. He doesn't make many videos anymore, unfortunately, but he's very wise when it comes to building nature tanks. So yeah, definitely don't use it as a aquascaping DIY, how you should do everything, because I replaced the stone at the viewing point. I went to the hardware store, well, hardware store slash aquarium store, and got a few more stones, like 2 or 3, to create the look I was really after. And I thought the stone at the viewing point in the 2/3 in the top left was just not really cutting it, so replaced that and been moving some other small stones around here and there and making some small adjustments. I would say the majority of the hardscape is already laid out. So I spent a good hour smashing some rocks that I've left over to get some small pieces, to put down some details, but mainly also to put in a pathway, as I originally planned to have one. And yeah, I'm gonna spend quite some time putting that pathway in, probably even more than I use putting the hardscape in place because it's just a very fiddly work. Putting a lot of small pieces. So. Not doing much else in this time, so just gonna let the song play out playing. Alright, so the end of day 3 and a bunch of copyright strikes further. Pretty happy with the results. I couldn't finish my pathway because I run out of small pebbles, so. But yeah, like I said, pretty happy with everything else. So, day 4. Spent another hour in my garden smashing seiryu stone. I can tell you one thing, this stone really doesn't like to be broken. Like, it's really hard to break, it's really dense, but managed to get some more pieces eventually. Don't do what I do, don't go through your hands with like freshly broken piece of stone. You're gonna cut yourself. Don't be an idiot. So I continue putting out the rest of the pathway. Like I said, it's very time consuming. I think I spent about twice the amount of time I spent putting all these small stones down compared to the big piece of stone for the main hardscape. But in the end it was worth it if you ask me. Like, things like these really make the aquascape, in my opinion. Like, everyone can quickly put down some rocks and call it a day, but it's all the small pebbles that make the details, in my opinion, and really tie the whole thing together. Like, sometimes you have a really nice room and like you just get a rock and it ties the whole room together, you know what I mean? Like, in aquascaping, the small pebbles and all the details you put down really tie the aquascape together. So you can see the pump sitting on the left hand side. It's probably one of the only few things that I bought new, because I just wanted a really nice quiet pump. And now Eheim has really quiet pumps, because in the end of the day, this tank is sitting in my bedroom, so I don't want anything that makes a ridiculous amount of noise. And I'm not being sponsored by them, it's just I didn't have room in my room to put it anywhere, so, or space in my room to put it anywhere. So I just had it sitting there. Just putting down more little rocks and putting down more details. Like I said, it's very time consuming. And the pump is only one of the few things I bought new. Like I said, I try to keep things on a budget, because it's a very expensive hobby to begin with, isn't it? Especially when you're decorating such a big tank as well. Like, there's so many things that come looking around the corner that cost money, and just always trying to spend the least amount as possible, because who likes wasting their money, really? So on the bottom layer I put lava rock. Goes for about €5 for 25 kilograms, and I almost used 2 full bags of that. And on top of that I put 1 and 3mm mixed gravel, and almost used another 2 bags of that, so I would say another good 40 kilograms. And yeah, saved a lot of money there, because if you're gonna buy a bunch of power sand and ADA soil, you're gonna be down a few $100 just putting in soil. Yeah, waste of money, really, if you ask me. I did spend some good money on the stones, so there's probably a good $200 worth of stones in there, but I just really wanted some nice looking, pretty, aesthetically pleasing stones, so I didn't regret that. Just trying to save money where I can. I also like the look of the gravel more, because it's like nicely etched, and yeah, the aqua soil is like really rounded, so it doesn't look very natural in a mountainscape. So the end of day 4, and finished putting all the small detail stones down. I'm pretty happy, I would say. Again, I was very pleased with my work so far. Just starting to look better and better. Yeah, I just can't wait for it to be finished already and see the end result. One last thing I did is replacing the gravel up front with gravel that's from the size in between 2 and 5mm, just to create a bit more depth and make it look like you're closer by at the front and further away at the back. I also scooped out the areas where the sand pad was gonna be with a spoon. So there was a bit more room for sand, and I just wanted a nice thick layer of sand so the gravel won't be peeking through, even though it's probably gonna happen anyway. But I'm fine with it. So here I started adding the sand to the pathways. For the gravel, it didn't bother me that much that it was wet, because I also didn't have any place to store it. But for the sand, I really prefer it. It's nice and dry. So it's just way easier to work with and put in place. It's just regular aquarium sand you buy at your aquarium store, like natural color sand, because it's just cheap again and a nice color. So, and I like the contrast in between that color of the sand and the black. So adding the sand was the last thing I did on this day. And yeah, it was kind of the last thing I did to the whole hardscape layout, because kind of done after that. Everything was in place, everything was looking nice. And let it sit for a good 2 days, making sure I'm happy with the layout and etc. So the only thing I did the 5th day was go to the store and got like a cheap LED light to illuminate the background with different colors to create some different effects, because everyone knows you can only run like your tank, plant a tank for like 8 hours a day, because otherwise you get all kinds of issues with algae. So finding a way to get a bit more out of my aquarium, and like I said, it creates a nice effect as well. My camera doesn't record very well when it's a bit dark. It can be a little bit pixelated, but I do like the effect that it creates. So overall, I'm very happy how it turned out. It's been a while since I'd done an aquarium, but I had a little bit of experience, or kept my experience going, making like nature terrariums a few years back. And this year I also made a few rock gardens in like pots with succulents, which is something I haven't seen a lot of people do yet, but it's very enjoying to do as well. I'll put up some pictures after this footage run out. This is the last footage I had before I started planting. So these are some pictures of some nature terrariums I made. They didn't do it as well, but they look really good though. And I even turned my old fish tank into a terrarium at some point. But these are the rock garden pots I've been talking about that I made this year, and like I said, it's very fun to do, but they also look good and they grow really quickly. Like, this is probably a picture of the first day when it's made, and this is only a few weeks later, and this is about a month and a half later, and you can see how quickly it grows. It's fun to see the progress, and this is 3-4 months later and the whole pot is just covered. I made another one, and very fun to do. Like I said, it's kind of like an outdoor aquascape almost. Like I don't understand why people haven't thought of this or don't do this very often. Just make sure you use succulents that stay very small, because a lot of succulents grow quite large quite quickly and overtake the rocks, and that's almost the case also with this one, but I think it came out nicely. Anyway, back to the aquarium. I do have some footage of the rock garden, so let me know if you guys are interested in the comments and I'll make a video about it. So this is 2 days after I bought the light, 3 days after I finished the hardscape. Just let it sit 3 days. Make sure I'm happy with it, because once you start planting and fill up the tank, you can't do much about it anymore. So I'm just spraying the whole tank with some water so the plants will take nicely and don't dry out. I also sprayed the tank every single day to promote bacterial growth, keep it nice and moist. Helps a little with the cycling, I guess. And I just had to walk away and turn the sun up a little. Very nice sun, isn't it? So over here I'm taking the lights off because I took a bucket of water from my paludarium and put that in the aquarium. Make sure I added it first so the lava rock underneath could get saturated by the water, so it promotes a lot of bacterial growth, because that's why I put the lava stone underneath in the end of the day. So it promotes a lot of bacterial growth, and you basically just turn your whole tank into a massive filter, or however you want to see it. So here I'm adding the plants. At the front I'm putting in Pogostemon, helferi. I'm probably gonna butcher all of these names because I never pronounced them. And in the foreground as well I'm putting some Monte Carlo. I got my plants from 3 different stores as well. Some were looking better than others. I was hoping to like get perfectly looking plants, but apparently it was a bad day to go out and buy aquarium plants. But I got some good ones though. I would say at least 75% was pretty good. Good looking, lush green. So behind that I'm putting some Monte Carlo as well. I'm keeping the Pogostem up front mostly. And I also mixed in some... Oof, how you pronounce that again? I don't have it written down with me, but I think it's Marsilea. Like the crawling carpeting plant. I got some free ones from Stefan, the guy I bought the tank from. So behind that I'm putting baby tears or cuba, or however you want to call them. Hemianthus. So I got cuba from like 3 different stores, and this was the Danelei cuba. And I thought I picked out a nice one. To be fair, most of the Danelei pots they were selling there looked really, really bad. And I'm not gonna blame them really. Like, I'm pretty sure if you order Denali plants through the internet and they get delivered instantly, you're gonna have good quality. But I had a feeling these probably been sitting around for a while, because when I put them in, I had a bad feeling about it, and like literally 2 days later that got confirmed because it instantly melted away. But it's fine, I got some replacements for it. Took me about an hour to prepare all the plants before I started planting, but only took me like 20 minutes to put it in. There's a lot of work going on off camera, but it's not always visible. Spreading around and putting around some moss balls now, which also took me a good 2 hours to make, binding Christmas moss and Javamoss to little lava stones. But I can't complain in the end though. It took a lot of time in preparation, but eventually everything looked good. It's just starting to look better and better. Now that the plant's in, you can really tell how it's coming close to an end. And yeah, just very pleased. Look at this, like, just looks so nice. So after that, I continued filling the tank up because I kind of finished with everything. I put a piece of plastic in there and make sure the water's leaking on top of that, because you don't want the water to disturb the soil too much and it starts collapsing. When I poured in the bucket of water, make sure you aim for like a big rock that can distribute the water for you, because otherwise you're gonna have a bad time. So since it's so sloped, I was still a little panicky about the whole thing collapsing on me. So I made sure I started filling up the tank just very, very slowly. This is about an hour of time going by. And yeah, at this point I was recording so much that unfortunately my phone memory was full. So I quickly had to put everything on my computer and I plugged it back in. And here we are. And then eventually my battery of my phone died. So, but overall it went well. And yeah, this is the next day, because after that I tried to get my pump running, but I cut my hoses too short of my pump, long story short. And the next day I picked up some hoses and hooked up the pump, hooked up all the equipment, hooked up the CO2 system. My diffuser wasn't really diffusing properly, but I fixed that. I was just happy I finally got everything running. What you see right now is the first 10 minutes of the tank being cycled. So this is the next day. The tank's been running for 24 hours now and cleared up nicely, and just really happy with the end results. I don't know what else to say. I know I've said it a few times now, but I'm just very pleased with how it came out. This is the front view of the tank, and since I'm not entering any competitions or anything, I'm just doing this for myself. And I didn't really focus on just one angle. This is the angle from the other side when I'm sitting behind my computer. And I wanted the tank to look nice from different angles, because like I walk around in my room and I'm at different places, and I don't always sit right in front my tank and stare at it all day. I mean, I do a few hours a day, but gotta do different things in the day as well, clearly. And this is the angle from when I'm laying on bed, viewing into it. And I didn't change that much, besides adding one more rock in the top left. You can see how it's a bit empty there. I placed one tiny rock to fill it up, because when you're looking from it in the front as well, and the reflection just looks a bit bare over there. But besides that, I didn't do anything. So this is the last footage I had of the day. going over the tank, and I'm not gonna ruin it by talking over it, so enjoy. And if you don't want to sit through, you can skip through the end and I talk a little bit about all the hardware used. So this is all the hardware I got sitting underneath the aquarium, and I left the audio on from my phone on purpose so you could tell how quiet the pump is. I'm really pleased with it because, like I said, the pump is in my bedroom, so I got the temperature set on 23 Celsius, but at the moment it's displaying 25 because it's a little warmer at the moment in my country. I got this Sierra Precision ceramic pH controller. I literally only use it to see what the pH value is of my aquarium. I wouldn't buy it new if I had to, but I got it in a set together with the CO2 system over here. And I paid $150 for both of them, so I thought it was a good deal. And I got it hooked up to a half a kilogram CO2 bottle that comes from the local liquor store, because he sells CO2 as well, nice and cheap. So, and the pump is a Eheim 4 Professional with the integrated thermo. And I got a LED controller from Aquatlantis, hooked up to two lights from 89 centimeters from Aquatlantis. I think Aquatlantis just rebranded from Aquatlantis. And I got a good deal on the lights. I paid $100 for two 98 centimeter freshwater lights. So they have 4 different colors of LEDs: red, blue, white, and yellow. And since I got such a great deal, it's the only second thing I bought new, like a LED controller, so I can ramp up and down the light. Have a nice sunset and sunrise going on. And that's it really. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll be making update videos about this tank in the future, so if you want to see anything, make sure you subscribe. And I'll also be scaping another 30 and 20 liter cube besides this aquarium on the left and the right hand side, so if you want to see that in the future. Have a nice day, and make sure to appreciate nature.